What really held me back for a long time is I was very fixed on the life that I expected to live. I expected for myself to live. And to accept that that had changed, to accept that it no longer aligned for me, and that took a long time. That was a lot of stuckness and grief, and required a lot of acceptance and adapting to what was sort of unfolding and what was a more fitting choice for me.
Welcome to the Paul Plett podcast. Basically, this is an excuse for me to sit down and have a conversation with people that I find interesting. And joining me today is Jacqui Fox. Jacqui is a voiceover actor, a singer, a partner, and a therapist. Welcome here, Jacqui.
Thank you for having me. Delighted to be here.
For people who don't know you, who you're just meeting, how would you describe who you are and what do you do?
Reflexively, I want to just flip that on you because it's been a while since I've been asked to reflect on myself, and my identity has changed across time. So I'm a human. That would probably first and foremost, even above therapist, even above any contexts or careers. That would probably be foremost for me to mention. Who am I? I'm a learner. I'm a growth enthusiast. I am what my passions are, which is absolutely culture, travel, music, connection, healing.
Travel.
Yeah.
Where do you like to think about traveling? Where do you like to travel? Where have you traveled? Can you talk about that a bit?
Sure. I have traveled extensively, a lot on a budget, as a backpacker. Had some lovely, luxurious trips. I was in East Africa and South Africa in 2020, coming home in mid-March. So
where were you?
That was my last trip. I went to Cape Town, where I got to meet with tons of travel, seeing the penguins, lots of culture, Robben Island, and then I also got to connect with the production company of one of the international voice projects that we do. It's a soccer series, so very big.
Cool. And Robben Island, that's where Nelson Mandela was in prison for a while. Yeah. I grew up in Zambia and Sudan. Yeah, so we traveled down to South Africa as a kid, when I was a kid. I don't know, I haven't spent a lot of time there, but it looks beautiful.
Amazing. And I mean, the animals, getting that safari experience was incredible. And my travel partner was really special too, because she stayed with my family as an international exchange student learning English from Taiwan. And so we met in Africa, and we connected in Hong Kong and Taiwan a couple years before, but that was the first time we had seen each other in 10 years.
Wow.
And so now we've become sort of travel buddies with hopes to connect somewhere again.
And this is all from the voice acting stuff? Is she a voice actor?
No, so she's a personal family connection because she stayed with my family.
Okay.
Family connection. And then the production company in South Africa, in Cape Town, that was another part of the trip where I got to go and meet people working on the same. They had only known my voice. We had never been in person.
This is just like a modern adventure.
It was a dream. It was fantastic. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, something that really carried me through the pandemic, because coming home, there was a lot of loss collectively, personally. I had been hosting karaoke for, close to 20 years, and that was all canceled. And so speaking of identity and that sort of hesitation to answer that, my identity drastically shifted because of that loss.
Okay. So before the pandemic, singer, karaoke host was a big part of your identity.
Absolutely, 4 or 5 nights a week. There was a whole subculture in the city around karaoke. Yeah. I
hosted I used to work at a coffee shop in a town north of Toronto, and I hosted an open mic there every Saturday. And that was also just such a big, it's so neat when you host anything.
Yeah.
You get to see people come in, you get to share your gifts in a way, but then also celebrating the gifts of others.
Yeah.
It's so awesome.
Yeah. Celebrating risk. I mean, I witnessed people across years find their voice. Some people, they showed up tone deaf, and that was okay too, but it was amazing how they honed the skills and developed the confidence and created friendships and lasting relationships through that scene, and just really discovered music. And it was very like diverse in age and culture. The whole group's mingling from all different backgrounds, like connecting over music was beautiful.
And live music, live performance.
Yeah.
There's a real, it's real.
Yeah.
You know, like it's you're really putting yourself out there.
Yeah. There's a vulnerability to it.
I got to do more of that. Yeah. So where are you from? Where'd you grow up?
Winnipeg. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. My dad was sort of he was the north end, my mom was the south end, and we settled in the south end. And actually we sold my childhood home last year. My parents had been there for over 45 years.
Oh, wow.
And they just moved into a condo. It was just the time, but yeah, it's a pretty powerful, interesting, like in my field we talk about just disenfranchised loss and sort secondary losses as a therapist.
Therapy, mental health field.
Yeah, how much loss can be associated even with positive change, and so just letting that experience go is a big change too.
What was it like? I didn't grow up in Winnipeg. What was it like to grow up in Winnipeg?
In what respect? Anything specific you're curious about?
Well, I mean, the first thing for me, I grew up in Zambia. Like for ages 3 to 10, I grew up in Zambia, and I did not know winter. I dreamed of winter, you know. And then we moved to Manitoba, to a small town. But I guess the two things for me that would be interesting would be, what was it like going through the winters? Mm-hmm. And then also, did you go to the same? Were you in one school? I guess if your folks lived in one place, were you in one school the whole time growing up?
Yeah, I was. So I had that consistency. I mean, winter for me, I was lucky. I was in a warm home. We could afford warm clothes, so I had that luxury to sort of be a buffer. Yeah. But I do remember there was we had to take the bus to school, and standing outside on the bus stop every morning, and it's dark. That absolutely can impact, and it's a long winter too. Yeah.
Ice sports, like skating, other stuff growing up?
Huge Jets fans, so watching sports.
Yes.
I didn't play. I was more into musical theater and singing, and so that was my activity.
When did you get into that?
Since I was probably about 3. Madonna came out in 1985 with her first album. She was a huge influence on me. I started dressing up and singing Madonna songs. Didn't know what a virgin was, but I was singing like a virgin, and my mom just told me it was something very pure. Yeah. And I would be putting on performances at family dinners with the costume, and she was a big influence for me. So I didn't play sports. Yeah. But, the musical piece for me now. After the pandemic, actually, that was a big lifestyle change for me. I started going to the gym, and that's been really helpful because movement is great. It gets me out. I work from home now virtually, so to get out of the house, change of scenery, that's really important for my mental health, and of course I support that for others to find their way, whatever movement works for somebody.
I went sober about just over a year ago, and just and I've always exercised, but just this last summer I kind of kicked it into gear, exercise is amazing. It's incredible.
To wellness choices. I'm a big toaster. I'm surprised that's only my first toast.
So you grew. So there's a couple bugs that got. I mean, you age 3, Madonna, musical theater, etc. So you're kind of growing up, going through school, into music. When did the mental health therapy piece, can you explain, does that kind of start growing throughout high school as well, or is that later on?
That was much later on. Yeah. So I wanted to be a famous singer, famous actor, went to National Performing Arts School, did my undergrad in theater.
Where?
Definitely in Victoria for the Performing Arts program.
In BC?
Yeah.
Okay, so you went out to BC for university?
That was a college program for a year, and then my undergrad was in Winnipeg. So, but Victoria too, it's very dark there. There's a lot of rain. So definitely that was a very difficult year for me. My first time living away from home. It was a struggle to, just manage living in an apartment. I was in my early 20s.
Okay.
And I struggled with my mental health. I was homesick. It was a boot camp. I mean, it was acting, singing, and the dance part was really difficult for me at the time. I hadn't really learned how to nourish myself, like through healthy cooking to give me enough protein. And I was tap dancing, and ballet is a lot harder than it looks, and it was super intense. So I really struggled that year. I came back after that year. I wrote a book to help me through my experience, fictionalizing my experience.
Wow.
I was like really going through depression, and I'm very grateful that I was able to live at home with that support to spend some time to heal and regroup. And then I started working in clinical interviewing training for the police, the RCMP, and the med students. I don't know if you know that. That was an acting role for me, so it was sort of a way to keep my acting. And then
here in Winnipeg,
University of Manitoba, and the Winnipeg Police Department do their academy training, and they need role players. So it appealed to me as an actor, but then what happened was it influenced me because it was about how to ask questions, and we would go in and give we'd do domestic dispute scenarios, or I'd go in and I'd give statements of sexual assault, and so you were training the officers to be sensitive, to be trauma informed, and so that got me interested more in social justice and mental health, and how clinical interviewing, how to ask questions, how to be respectful and frame questions, and
just the whole process.
That planted something for me, and then I did that for a few years, and then a few years later, I went through a really difficult breakup, again, just grappling with the heartbreak, the loss, and managing my own mental health through that process.
This is like late 20s?
Late 20s, and went to see a marriage and family therapist, and had that support. And once I was in a more sturdy place and had learned about myself and developed more tools to cope, even sort of ongoing, not just reactively to a breakup, but just sort of more lasting skills to take care of myself, to connect to myself. Then I heard about this program, and a friend sent me the sort of information on the program, the Master's in Marriage and Family Therapy program through the University of Winnipeg. And I applied, I got in, and then about 7 years later, it's a long program.
Wow. Okay. That's a lot. That's a lot. So, what happened? What happened to the acting theater piece? You went to Victoria. Very intense program.
Very intense. Never auditioned for any of the big, theater places after. Felt very disenchanted with the industry. I did some film work. Had some negative experiences. Not feeling safe as a woman on set. And unfortunately,
out
closed the door.
Victoria, Vancouver?
Locally. And just felt deterred and lackluster on the matter of acting. Kept it up through the role playing, and throughout my university, my master's program, I was still doing the voiceover work, so that sort of scratched the creative itch. And then karaoke gave me that platform to singing was always really my first passion.
Interesting.
And then I wrote another book through my program. Haven't submitted or published. I don't know what's going to be, but
so writer is also a big part of. You're a big writer. Okay.
I love words and language, and that's also, you know, as a therapist, they say acting is 90% listening, and I mean, that's a huge skill as a therapist. And also language, how we name things. They say name it to tame it, and sometimes just naming an emotion, finding the right word, or maybe there's more than one emotion, and capturing it with words can be very empowering and help sort of allow what is and acknowledge what's there. Take
it out and look at it. Yeah.
So they sort of weave together now.
That is interesting. Yeah, I know that I've gone through, I mean, we're all growing, you know, but I know that for myself also taking, I mean, exactly what you were talking about, taking sort of the dream Madonna, seeing that and seeing the thing and being like, I want that. And then as you grow and have experiences in the pursuit of that thing, maybe you realize, oh, I don't know if I want that, or I don't know if I want to do, I don't know if this road to get there is a road that I necessarily want to walk. I know that for myself, I've spent a lot of time then thinking, well, what do I want? Oh, if I think about it in a different way, I want, like, I want to create. I want to express. I want to communicate. I want to connect with people. I want, and then you sort of, if you can take your eyes off of the big shiny thing, you can look around and see, oh, there's all sorts of these other avenues that I can get what I actually want, and still feel like I'm me. You know?
Many pathways there. And you know, there's the umbrella of maybe fame, and I wanted to create, but really underneath that was connection, meaning, authenticity, alignment, and that changes. I think that's also part of just the maturation process. Sometimes we're also taught what we want through our socialization, whether it's, you know, gender or other societal norms, and so absolutely I was met with a lot of pressure all around me to produce, to have some sort of title, to pursue this, pursue that, to be what other people projected that they wanted, or because they cared, they wanted me to be secure and steady. And the artist life certainly is complicated, depending on, you know, how you find your way within that field. And so this ended up being a fit for me and for now. And who knows, I'm open, like he's acknowledged too, that growing can be, you know, we're learning, it's ongoing. And so what fits now, and this is also something that a theme that comes up with clients, what fits at one point, you know, maybe it served you now, whether it's coping or a choice. Sometimes it's important to, that's often what the dark night of the soul, which tends to happen a lot in that winter season, is a reevaluation, and certainly sort of end of the year and the darkness and sort of more people, you know, staying in sort of isolation mode is a reflection time. And sometimes that allows us to reevaluate what still fits, or what do I want to carry with me. That could be loss, even if it's choice.
No, you're totally right. I mean, summer feels so kinetic. You know, I know that this last summer, you know, I like making videos, you know, just sort of making YouTube videos, and I know that I've sort of with some of the people that I collaborate with on making the videos, we talk about, I want the experience itself to be fun. You know?
Process versus outcome. That's what I'm tapping into.
Totally.
Like being versus doing.
Like you know, in the last couple weeks, I made a couple cooking videos. And the best, I mean, it was fun to make a cooking video. It's fun to learn a new recipe, but then you get food. You know, and the family gets to eat, gets to try a new dish. So you get something tangible, tactile, something real out of the process. It's not just the pursuit of making a video, making the art, whatever. It's actually like, well, if I'm going to make a video where we're going to go on a hike, we get a hike out of it. You know, you get the experience itself. And if I've noticed that for myself, if I take a lot of the trappings away, if I don't hold myself to a standard that like it has to be the most amazing professional thing, right? If it can just be casual, you can have fun with it. You can breathe, you can enjoy it, you know?
Amazing. What did you cook?
Oh, I've cooked a couple things. The first one that I did was a video called 5 Simple Soups. I'm not a very good cook.
Okay.
My wife is an amazing cook, but I'm the stay-at-home parent.
You're the humble cook.
So yeah, I'm a humble
You're
cook.
learning.
Yeah, I'm learning. Yeah.
See, you don't have to be good at something to do it. And that's also what
Yes.
I support clients in with art. Like, it's not about the outcome. It's, hopefully the soup was good. And if not, it's learning to make it better. Add a little more salt. I don't know.
Hopefully one of the soups is okay. Yeah, it was a big day. It was a lot of cooking.
The 5 soups you're saying.
5 soups. Yeah. Interesting. Okay, so what happened was there was several incidents in the sort of the pursuit of the acting, that career, that sort of led you to reevaluate.
Oh, we're back to me. I was wanting to hear more about the food. I don't know.
If you're interested in checking out the soups, you can find it on this YouTube channel.
Okay. Noted.
Yeah. No, I mean, yeah, the soups were great. And my daughter helped me taste test them at the end, which is amazing. My eldest daughter, when she wants to be involved in the videos, I just love it, because for me, it's my play, it's my joy, it's my fun. So if I can involve the kids in it, great. If they don't want to be involved in it, totally, it's
choice
their,
matters.
Yeah.
What a mindfulness practice too. I mean, that's tasting, right? Connecting to any of the senses is a way to bring us into the moment. So that's a great sort of nice winter idea too, right? It's so like soul food to make soups. If we're talking about winter and mental health is a theme here.
Oh, totally. Yeah. Completely. I mean, I wanted to do the soups because I was thinking, what am I going to make this winter? How are we going to get through the winter? Because I mean, here in Winnipeg, I know January and February are tough. I love Christmas. Christmas really brings me a whole lot of joy. For me, it connects me with family, connects me with my story, our story. I mean, I'm also a Christian, so it's just such a special time. So so the beginning of winter is very easy. It's a fun transition.
Something to look forward to, ritual, tradition.
Yeah. But then, when we cross that hump of New Year's and we head into January, I feel like you've got the first week of January is sort of like you've got the afterglow a little bit, and then you start settling into it.
Yeah, here we are. I still have a lot of this.
Yeah, and by mid-February, I usually have lost a sense of perspective. You know, and maybe I've fallen into a routine that I'm like, I'm just going to keep doing this, you know, but I feel like the path becomes a lot more narrow, and it's a lot more like we just need to see our way through this, you know. And I know that for this last summer I felt so much life, so much joy, so much motivation, and I'm definitely, I mean, I think we all try to come up with coping mechanisms and strategies, and we sort of like, we strap them all in and we get ready. But the truth is that I'm scared about the winter, about the cold, because you can't be outside as much. It gets very cold here in Winnipeg. You know, I can keep doing a morning run, but not much more than that.
Yeah.
You know, and then the lack of sunlight. I feel like I'm my morning jog, I love to do a 5 a.m. jog.
Oh, good.
And in the middle of summer, to be able to wake up, go outside in like a tank top and do a morning jog, and the sun is in your face. It's amazing. And the lack of sunlight in the winter, in the depths of winter is, I feel like that's probably the hardest on me.
Yeah, that is a tough piece. We don't have the same resources. We don't have access to just be outside and catch our breath out there.
Yeah. How do you get through the winter, or what kind of things do you... I mean, I'm sure I'm not the only person who deals with winter in this way, especially here in Winnipeg or across Canada, I guess. Across probably Norway, Sweden, Finland,
actually, their studies show that they've got, what's it called, Hygge or something? Have you heard about that?
No.
I might not be saying it correct, but just sort of how there's a mentality in that part of the world of like embracing winter. And there's some studies about people being very like happiness studies because of the way they sort of embrace it and have more ritual and practices. And so for me personally, something that has been really, I've been lucky to enjoy in the last couple of winters is that we have a fireplace. And so connection to nature has been really helpful. And sometimes just instead of watching television, just connecting in that way. Years ago, we had a dog. I'm hoping to get another one. But walking the dog meant I had a husky too. So he loved the winter. So I still walked, even if it was cold. And I saw a sign. I saw it in Australia. So, I mean, context matters too. But it said there's no such thing as bad weather, only inappropriate dress. And granted, it was in Australia on the beach. But if you bundle, if you get the mindset for it, I mean, sure, some days your skin will freeze and it's not safe. But I think that there's also the mindset and that we can adapt. And so that was something that my dog really taught me, and that I'm looking forward to getting another one, because there's something about doing it for the dog, even though it's for me, but even if it's a shorter walk, right? So I think it's also just managing our expectations, and all or nothing thinking is a cognitive distortion we get trapped into, which is, if I can't do it in this way, I can't do it at all. And so finding small variations to just keep something, even if you go for 5 minutes, it's better than not at all.
What can I do?
What can I work with here? And so I think that's part of the mentality, is mourning that there's loss and there's absolutely lack of access to things in the winter that we don't have access to, particularly, nature and lovely mornings. But there's a mindset shift. I almost said something I did not mean to say. Is there like a bleeping part here? So embracing it.
What would that? If you were to, we can cut this bit. If you were to describe what a mindset shit was, what would that be?
A mindset of shit? First of all, I think shit is a fertilizer. So I think that's also the important part of like using what's there. So shit is a fertilizer. So it's a way to grow. And so maybe even coming back to that, when you said I'm scared, that the fear is there. What does fear do? It keeps us alert. So it's actually a cue to become prepared. So that might be part of the transition of acknowledging the loss that comes with winter and making a plan, a contract for yourself. What can I do when, to try and prevent? And also in the event that maybe this inevitable dip in mood happens, what can I do to be gentle with myself? Can I allow it? Can I give it some space? Can I challenge, there's compassion and then there's accountability. Can I be compassionate with what's coming up? And can I sort of make some small manageable goals to challenge myself to move through it?
I know that a lot of those things I talk about. We don't have a fireplace. I always talk about I'd love a fireplace. We have a cat and we want to get a dog. We've got 2 little girls right now, so it's a timing thing.
So breathing, you were saying. How about music?
Yes.
Too?
Well, that's another big piece, is I write music. That was, so I know that the last few winters, I just thought about it now. I feel like a lot of life is, which I think you probably might be able to relate to, once we take a step back and we let some of the noise settle a bit, I've just sort of realized I think every winter I get more into music. I think around that time, I know that for the last few years, taking care of the kids, I think I get way more into writing and playing music in sort of January, February, because I noticed this summer I've been exercising a ton and I haven't played a lot of music. Guitars have just been sort of sitting
for everything.
And
guitar.
Yes. So but I think the other piece that you talked about, I think that for myself, it's an inevitability. I will get more low during that time period. I don't tend to get so low that I bottom out. I mean, sometimes, you have days, but just the aspect of forgiving yourself and giving yourself space to feel how you feel. You know?
Do you know what keeps you from bottoming out? Like that would be, if you want to answer or just something to think about, that's often the inventory of resources. What are the things that keep me afloat, that get me through, that I can turn to? Something's working, that it's not going there.
Yeah.
What is it? And do more of it.
This is good. Well, therapy session here.
Take this hat to be.
Yeah, no. I think, well, I know that for me, I mean, exercise has been so great, you know, consistent exercise. I don't know. You know, a couple years ago, I went sober. You know, I was drinking a fair amount, but I was smoking a lot more pot. And it just got to a place where I just didn't like what was I just didn't like, it wasn't, you know, and so I decided to make a change, you know, and I feel like making that change, you know, and then definitely with the help of counseling, you know, of talking to someone about what I was going through. I think that for me, being able to express myself and just not trying to pretend things are okay when they're not.
That's
you know?
the layer of exhaustion, is the facade, the masking. Yeah. Or the judgment of our experience. So just getting into it and finding a safe space. So connection, really, that's a safe connection was a resource for you, whether that's in a professional or someone close.
Totally. If I can communicate with someone, or even if I express myself artistically and I feel seen, and I feel heard.
Yeah, core attachment needs.
Oh, yeah. And also, I think another big piece for me is I connect with people by hearing how their life isn't perfect. Because I can also share how my life is not perfect.
Yeah, it's permission to be human.
Yeah. People that are like, just talk about how amazing everything is. I'm just like, but what's really going on? Like, what's happening?
Yeah.
You know? So...
It's a protective facade.
Yeah, but I really think, I mean, for me at least, like, there's the, you want to go more internal, you know, you want to be able to take, like, we're not going to have as much sunlight. We're not going to have as much warmth, you know, we're going to have to be inside more. Maybe we do spend more time considering. I mean, I like to constantly sort of reevaluate my life and go inward and maybe come up with music and share it. But then also, you kind of want these other tendrils to go out, to go for coffee with people, to connect with people, to chat, you know, to find those warm harbors in the city, you know, to be able to, you know, I want to feel like I'm living, not like I'm just like surviving
or waiting for it to end. So meaning too, and maybe with the warm harbors, maybe that's important. Part of that mindset shift is to create that within too, so that our thinking is more open or more gentle. So that if we are going to naturally be in a more introspective space, that we can be with that in a gentle way.
Yeah. Can we loop back to your story? Yeah.
Sure.
Okay. So you do the reevaluation of your life, and you find the path to become a therapist. You find that really kind of you were doing, because you did the thing at the police academy
as an actor.
but you learned, but you got exposed to something there, and that got you questioning and asking about this other world, And then how did you, I feel like you said, but how did you, how did you hear about the program? How did you decide to enroll in the program? How'd that happen?
Yeah, thank you for bringing me back to that, because there was an important chapter that I think I bypassed, which was that to decide if this was even for me, I volunteered at K Clinic on the crisis lines and in the sexual assault crisis program, as well as the women's health clinic program at pregnancy and birth control counseling. So I had two local resource places to learn some skills also, and just to see if it was going to be a fit for me before I enrolled and invested all this time in a program. I wasn't sure what that was going to feel like and how that might be. This was more crisis, and so therapy is different than that, but there's some really core clinical interviewing skills. A lot of really, they're both really known for the training programs too. So, and it was just a way to give back, which was also important to me, because after going through a really difficult time, it was, when I felt lost within myself, actually a friend had suggested it too, of why don't you, step outside of yourself, because I was involved in my heartbreak, that it was a way to just give back and be of service, and that sort of can be very healing in and of itself, and so I found those places for that.
Wow. I fully agree. I know that's sort of, again, thinking about sort of the arts, creativity, there's something wonderful about it, there's something cathartic about it, there's a beautiful community, but definitely when you're interacting with your community and responding to very direct needs in that way, it offers a different sense of fulfillment. And it didn't run counter, it just expanded and just changed the pathway. And so, interestingly enough, my program was more focused on direct supervised clinical hours. So we had to acquire 500 hours, individuals and couples. And that was more the hands-on experience that we were based on. But there was a sort of final course, which would be the equivalent to a what's the word, like a final, like if you were doing a dissertation type of paper, and so for that grad seminar course, my research and application based was actually related to creativity and psychotherapy, about all the ways we use connecting to our creative self and creativity as an outlet to foster empowerment and being self-attuned, and so using that ended up really naturally speaking to the whole process. Wow. So then you go to school. And you go through the program, and you kind of long program. Very long program, difficult. I mean, many hours of unpaid service while paying for university, while, having to pay rent. And so that was a real, lifestyle sort of management piece, which was a great experience. And actually, the piece I wanted to share too, when you're talking about connecting to people when they lead with their humanity, I wrote about my mental health journey in my application paper, and why I'm so comfortable talking about it is because we all have a mental health journey. And I think it's important that there's no sort of perfect human, perfect therapist, that we all struggle in different ways at different times, and it's just about our own process of connecting to our coping. And so that was important for me to be open about too, in my own brand of that, because that's what led to compassion and humility and leading with humanity, because of, we're all the wounded healers, we say. So, So then you finished the program. Then I finished the program. And where are you now? What's life like today? I had office space prior to 2020. Sure. I really wanted to prioritize safety, and also it was important for me to be able to see clients' faces, and so when wearing masks, that just seemed to, for me, I felt like I was losing some information, and so ended up going online and then enjoyed. You okay? Oh, you're all choked up. Something I said. I'm gonna tee down the wrong. Okay, sorry. Oh, the wrong way. You were saying. Don't rush. Are you okay? Yeah, I'm okay. Being able to connect with people the seeing them face to face, the masks was not conducive to that.
Yeah. Yeah, and some made it work, right? But then I also, in moving to virtual, I found getting to meet clients' dogs, or I see a lot of couples, so they could put the kids to bed and then just show up in the other room at 8 p.m. And so the flexible hours and not having to drive down in the winter on the roads or take the bus if you don't have a car. Or I see a lot of folks out of the city who might not be able to have access or mobility to get to an office space. And so I found all these other benefits and really valued that too. And of course, my own convenience. I found that my own energy was better because I was also going through a pandemic and I had more capacity to hold space for clients when I had less of the commute and the canceling and dealing with that. And so this way, you know, as long as someone was sort of well enough to have some you know, just cognitive function and space to show up, they could sit on the couch with a cup of tea. I just hit that. And bundle and be cozy and still show up.
And what about now? Are you still virtual?
So I'm still virtual because just the benefits as I witnessed it, and it was, I found a way, found it to work.
That's awesome.
So yeah. And we moved, I moved in with my partner in a house. So before I was in an apartment, and it was tough because I was operating at, I didn't have an extra room, so I was operating at the dining room table, but sometimes I could see if I really had to try and make sure I had done the dishes because I didn't want to see stacked up dishes because I think environment's so important, and that was quite the transition too. So I feel very fortunate to have a designated space that have boundaries within the home that if I'm there, I'm working, and if not, I kind of close the door.
And when you mean seeing dishes, you seeing dishes or the person seeing dishes behind you?
I could manage, right? The frame, I would face it to the back wall. But it was there for me. And I'm human. I could model that for clients, but it also could be very dysregulating to see there's some she doesn't have it together.
No, that's funny because I know that for me, there's this frame for this podcast, but there's a mess. Everywhere outside of the frame is just, I have two kids, so it's, I tell the family, I'm going to clean this little bit because I want to do this, but I can zone out that stuff.
That's a skill. And I hear this with folks all the time because sometimes they put there's a zoom lens that kind of blurs out the background. Some people are just this is me, this is us, this is our season of life, and some people are apologetic. It's so
I do the same thing with Zoom. I for sure I'll have a nice background. I present. I will present myself. But in terms of what I can see, I can see a mess everywhere, and the audience can't.
And how does that make you feel? It sounds like you're okay. You've adjusted.
I mean, it's a compromise. You know, I think it would be. It's funny if someone told me, a friend of mine, Tim Hoyen, he said something about having kids. He's like, don't mind the mess, because if there's a mess, that means the house is being used. It's being played
living,
with,
enjoying.
And I know that
that's a nice way to frame it.
It's been a journey, right? I know that a year ago, I would have been more gotta clean, gotta tidy everything, and I do try to keep everything sort of tidy. But knowing that you're gonna tidy an area. The minute they come back into that area, they're going to make a mess again. So for me, it's also just, if I want to do this, if I want to connect with people, or if I want to make videos and stuff, it's going to take time away from just constantly tidying. And I feel like that behavior of constantly tidying, it's stressful for me. You know.
So this is freedom to just be with where you're at, what you can do, what you can't do.
Exactly.
Or what you choose and what you choose is a priority.
That's exactly right. And I know that, again, for me, trying to calm everything down, not wanting to chase everything shiny. But then also realizing this feels really good. You know, this is giving something back to me that I feel like that's very nourishing. And then, I also want to have the time to, be with the kids and have the time do a multitude of things.
My hunch is because you do that deep breathing, that you're in touch with what feels good, and then that translates to other experiences. It transfers out to have that check in. How does this feel?
I just started the deep breathing.
Amazing.
Hopefully it goes somewhere. I'd love it to lead. I mean, wherever it goes, it goes.
You could be creative with it. Yeah, there's so many different variations on that too.
Yeah. I definitely know that kind of feels like the next piece that I'd like to pursue. I don't know if I will or how far it'll go, but I feel like yoga and meditation and breathing is a piece that I'm curious about.
Yeah.
You know?
I started doing a hot yin class, and I like that one because it's super gentle and the heat is manageable and it's not too strenuous, and it's just slowing down and also modifying it for making it feel better for your body. That, you know, everyone holds a pose differently or chooses a different pose in those moments or releases a pose if you need to. And so I enjoy that one. It's a way to sort of check in. How does this feel? Do I want to do this? Do I want to take another option? She uses the word options, and I like that.
That's interesting. I mean, the way I'm kind of visualizing it, we used to live in Sudan when I was in grades 8 and 9, and we would always go play squash at this particular place, and get really, really, really hot. And then I would go jump in the pool, and I would just sink to the bottom of the pool, and I loved that. And I'm thinking about this mindfulness breathing in that way, that there's the current of my thoughts that I'm in all the time. And maybe I could just sink to the bottom of the ocean.
Ooh, nice metaphor.
And just look up at the current. And thoughts can come and they can go. And I don't have to, I can let them come, but I don't have to follow them. And again, I'm just starting this, so I have no...
Very spiritual. Eckhart Tolle might be great. Power of Now. That's very much being the observer, not sort of the non-attachment. Let it come, let it flow, be present. It's the opposite of suffering.
Yeah. And I just wonder, you know, if I can start to become comfortable in that space. I mean, something that I'm really wondering is, you know, at the point at which I don't have to be the stay-at-home parent anymore, what do I want to pursue? Where do I want to point? What direction do I want to point in? And you can always shift. There's time and space to shift. We don't have to say, hey, this is what we did, which means this is what we have to do.
Tether yourself to a fixed identity.
Yeah. I mean, like you were talking about, like your what did you say at the beginning? Your
reevaluation, maybe?
No, when I was introducing you.
Growth enthusiast?
Yes, growth enthusiast,
because
right?
That's the through line, right? It's what's meaningful, what's meaningful, what's meaningful. Discard what isn't, you know, find a new piece for what is.
Yeah. I mean, I just love, again, this idea that you went on this adventure to South Africa, right? Because of... I mean, there's sort of the connection of the family friend who you knew, and there's also the connection of this show that you were a part of from voice acting, which goes back to like the vocals, like 3 years old Madonna, right? I mean, you do the show, and then you want to go visit, and it ends up taking you to South Africa to visit. It just seems like such a... It seems like such a wonderful conclusion to something that wasn't the original plan. Not a conclusion, but a wonderful fulfillment moment.
Yeah,
you know?
My inner child was delighted.
Yeah. That, to me, just seems like that's the good stuff.
Yeah.
You know? I mean, like they say, what did John Lennon say? Life is what happens when you're busy making other...
plans.
Yeah. All those other things happen. And then if you're open to it, for me, talk about being present, talk about being connected with the moment. I mean, all I need to do is stop what I'm doing at any given moment and look up and see my 4-year-old daughter. Because whatever she's doing, she's connected right to the moment. You know, she's ultimately present.
Kids have it. We need to learn that from them. That's what play, right? Yeah.
I would love to do a podcast with her. But she's the one that does not want me to film her. So I'm like, okay, that's not going to happen.
Yeah.
But such lessons that I wish, I mean, you can't, that's also the nature of life, right? It's ethereal, right? Like, she can only teach by doing. Mm-hmm. She can't articulate any of it. Mm-hmm. And the moment you try to hold on to it, it disappears. Mm-hmm. We let it, we breathe in and we breathe out. Yeah. So thinking about your whole life and your path that sort of led you to this moment, mm-hmm. are there any guiding principles, or is there a particular message? I mean, is there something that you could share to the world?
Ooh. Loaded.
Or a couple? You don't have to do a perfect one.
Yeah. I think my theme that maybe I'd want to impart is that it's okay to grieve the life that, you thought you were going to live, and accept that and be open to change, and sort of that unlived life piece and flexibility, to be open to new experiences and see where they take you. I don't know. There's so much. I don't know.
It's okay to grieve. What was that line?
The life that, I think that was what really held me back for a long time, is I was very fixed on the life that I expected to live. I expected for myself to live. Mm-hmm. And to accept that that had changed, to accept that it no longer aligned for me, and that took a long time. That was a lot of stuckness and grief, mm-hmm. and required a lot of acceptance and adapting to what was sort of unfolding and what was a more fitting choice for me as I changed. There were so many iterations of my life, so many different chapters, mm-hmm. and I think sometimes it was like hanging on to one chapter was preventing me from the next.
Well, Jacqui, thank you so much for sitting down for a cup of tea. I feel like this has been a long time coming, and it's been great to chat with you, hear a little bit more about your story. Thank you, and likewise, yeah, some great learnings about you too. Yeah, I appreciate you sharing. Yeah, and hear about the work you're doing, and obviously, thank you so much for sharing your perspective. Your knowledge and your wisdom. I definitely would love to do this again. Sure. Cheers to that. Thank you.